sentenced to death for a thought crime, supposedly. This is insane. Let's get into it. You know, I've had a lot of questions of why I've done some of the videos that I've done recently. And that's because I have essentially said enough is enough, you know, from both the atheist side and other situations where I'm seeing so many good Muslim people, well, former Muslims, trying to convert to Christianity, or they have converted, and they are being put to death, or they're threatened every day of their lives, or they have to live a life in secrecy just for believing in the one true God and the Word. Just recently, Junaid Hafiz, a Pakistani national that actually went to college in Mississippi, has been sentenced to death for supposed blasphemy charges. It's unspeakable how ridiculous this is. This is not the first case, and it won't be the last. He was originally arrested in 2013 for supposedly posting something on Facebook that was offensive to their prophet Muhammad. The evidence points to someone creating an account in his name and posting a bunch of things. And many people would say, well, why would somebody do that? Well, he was a university professor, and because he studied here in the U.S., he also has a medical doctorate, I believe. He has 2 doctorates, and you know, when he came back from the U.S., he wanted to help Pakistan kind of move away from beating women and many of the harsh laws. And so he was teaching at the university. And many people called for him to be hung just for things that he was saying, which there is no proof of him saying anything technically blasphemous. Even if there was, my goodness, it's ridiculous. But I want people here to really, truly understand how blessed you are to live in the United States, to live in the West, where this does not occur. You know, there's so many atheists, and when I'm talking about the militant atheists that dedicate all of their time, or so much of their time, to trying to make Christians look like bigoted, homophobic fools that deny science and that are just, they do nothing for the community, and it should be illegal to teach your child Christian values and all of these things. I want them to think about what would be this alternative. You know, they are taking advantage of gullible young people. I'm going to go into his case in just a minute. Actually, I'm going to play Apostate Prophet's video, because he too was in danger of his life when he left Islam. He's now an atheist, but he's not a militant atheist. He feels that Christianity is actually good for the community. You know, the only thing he talks about on his channel is the teachings of Islam and what it did to him and his family, and you know, things like that. And I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with anybody if you want to be atheist, that's fine. The thing I have an issue with is the lies. the lies coming from these militant atheists that are taking advantage, like I said, of gullible young people that are in their, a vulnerable time in their life, teens and maybe in college and things like that. And they're making them believe that essentially all scientists are atheists and it's just scientifically proven, evolution is scientifically proven, Big Bang, and all of those things are absolutely false. Absolutely false. It's 75% of Nobel Peace Prize winners in chemistry have been devoted Christians. 65% in physics are devout Christians. But yet these huge YouTubers are pushing this narrative, and it's only most of them, the majority of the big channels at least, are only targeting Christianity. They don't even bother, speaking out against Islam. Very few of them do. And if they do, it's not a big thing, a big issue. And so what essentially is occurring is these young people, especially with the ridiculous amount of nihilism that has overcome our lives, to where you believe, everybody's, can do whatever they want and be whatever they want. When one of the most staunch atheists come out and say that the farther we move away from Christianity, the more our society is spiraling out of control, and without Christianity, we cannot have a harmonic society. That was Richard Dawkins, who just said that about a month ago. And so what is the point? What good are these staunch atheists seeming to, achieve? It makes no logical sense. Do they just want... Well, I know what they want. They push their agenda that they want all of these things out of school. They have their little agenda on the Atheist Association thing. It's like they, in their minds, really believe that if they can get all religions out of our schools and out of the world, that we could then have a utopia of amazing some utopian life. That's so far from the truth. It's ridiculous. Who then makes the rules? Who then says what's moral and not? Many of the atheists don't have answers to those questions, and when you do ask them, the ones that do have answers, it's quite scary. Because they say things like, well, if a father and a daughter want to have a relationship, that's fine, as long as they're consenting. They waver on age. Well, maybe we could lower the age. This is what they want. This is what the agenda is. Not only that, many of them have daddy issues. And another thing that I just finally put together is a lot of these big YouTubers, atheist YouTubers, are former Mormons. And I'm not condemning the Mormon church, but I do understand. It's the same thing like Islam. When people leave Islam, they're mad. They're angry that they have been lied to by everyone in the top rankings of the community and things like that, and they're just angry. And I understand that. being a former Catholic, growing up Catholic and everything, I understand that. But rather than being angry and going away from God in general and just becoming this ultimate skeptic of, well, nothing can be proven and these blah, 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 this and that, when that's the furthest thing from the truth as well. Because we have so much evidence that it's quite overwhelming, honestly. And we have so many scientists. They use this all the time. All the time. Bill Nye uses it. Aaron Ra uses it. They all use this. Science has proven it. Blah, blah, blah. Then how come so many scientists are Christians? Of course, they might say it's because, even though they're intelligent, they still have that faith. They think that we are on faith without evidence. And that's, again, furthest thing from the truth. We have a lot of evidence. But I'm not going to go into all that right now. Although they do go hand in hand, these things go hand in hand. What they're doing is corrupting these young, impressionable Christian kids, and they're going to atheism while Islam is on a steady rise. So what do they think is going to happen? We already have Muslim patrol in Michigan and New York and all of these things taking over communities because it's whatever they want. And they believe that, it's a feminist religion. It's a religion of peace. When in all actuality, they're taught to say that. And I'm not saying all of them. My issue is with the ideology. And that's why I speak about their false prophet Muhammad. Because he is the one that they are told to live by. You live by how he lived. Well, if you look at that, it's a pretty horrific life. Essentially, if you listed out like the top 10 most terrible things to do, he would essentially hit all those points. And that's who they're told to live by. He married a 6-year-old child. He had 10 wives. That he also had sex slaves. And I know they had multiple wives back then, but there's more to it. He married his adopted son's wife just because he was lusting after her, and then it's a whole ridiculous deal. He owned black slaves called Ethiopians raisin heads. He said that Satan is a black man, and all of these things. Yet these feminists and the leftists and all of these people either have no clue because they don't research, which is what I believe, or they ignore all of this. And they have these hijab days and hijab national day, when these women that are forced to wear the hijab are screaming on the inside because they can't say anything, because they will be beaten by their husbands, by their brothers, by their fathers, whatever. Not all of them, obviously, but many. Many. A lot more than we know. And it just disgusts me how these atheists do this, because that's the only thing they're doing. All they're doing is corrupting Christians, because these Muslim kids aren't watching them, very few. So they're doing nothing good for the community. But they seem to think that without religion we can all just have some utopia. It makes no sense. It's ridiculous. And then what? Man makes all the morals and values and whatever, and then they can say blasphemy laws here in the U.S., but maybe they'll say you can't speak about anything bad about the president. Think about it like that. You can't say anything negative about the president. any president that's ever lived. We just tear up the Constitution, forget it all, because that's what they're doing, and that's what they're pushing for. They don't want equality for all. They want equality for themselves. And that's why, people find it strange that so many conservatives are, stand and fight for people that essentially hate them, or make gay Jesus videos, Netflix videos, movies, but yet we still don't call for them. We're not out in the street and saying, hang them. It's free speech. If you want to do that, whatever. I'll cancel my Netflix, but free speech is not, for them and not for you. It's across the board. And of course they don't have that in some of these countries. But my issue is, DC will sanction Venezuela to the point of trying to collapse their entire economy, which, them and Saudi Arabia did. And, that's funny. We're best buds with Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, where they stone and behead women. We still have a very fine, I guess, working relationship with Pakistan. They're not saying, you know what, no, we're sanctioning you until you stop this. It's disgusting. But they'll do it to a sovereign Christian nation without a Rothschild bank, of course, which is Venezuela, of course. And the hypocrisy is just immense. And people need to start seeing that the R and the D work together. It's all about the money. They don't care about you. They don't care about anybody, but they do care if people make enough noise. Because they care about themselves staying in office or whatever. And so we need to make enough noise about many issues and stop laying over and dying. Oh, well, we can't do anything about it. Well, no, we need to start stepping up. It's ridiculous, just like in Virginia right now. I mean, I think I'll do a different video on that, but I mean, this is horrific, and we need to share this. Where is Code Pink? Where is all of these human rights people? This man has been in solitary confinement for like 5 years, awaiting this sentence, and his sentence was death. Not only that, his lawyers were murdered just for standing up for him, for being his lawyer. That's how crazy it is. And that's how crazy it could get here. And people don't see it. I keep getting these comments about these Noahide laws and all this. Y'all, that is a scare tactic of ridiculousness. I've looked into it. I'm not saying any more about it. These things are really going on in real life, in real time. We've got Muslim Community Patrol going on Sharia practically in Dearborn, Michigan, and part YouTube bowing down to these Sharia countries because this video will be demonetized. I can guarantee you. Just like my video on Christmas was. Just like my video the night before that was. Just for speaking the truth. Demonetized. Because they bow down to these Sharia compliance. So you see social media, and it's not just YouTube. Facebook does it, Twitter does it, all of these. They will bow down to these Sharia compliances in a heartbeat. So we're not many steps from having blasphemy laws, essentially. we're one step away from them extraditing us out of the country and saying, well, yep, it was blasphemy and we're going to go ahead and hold you on trial, extradite you from the U.S. And you might think that's crazy. But we have political prisoners right now in the U.S. just for speaking out against the corruption, not for doing anything illegal. At the CMU at Marion, that prison, it's a prison within a prison that's not even legal, but yet it's still running. And we still have Americans in prison for essentially the same thing. Lock them up in solitary for 22 hours a day. But yet people are worried about ridiculous tweets somebody said, like an author says that men can't change to a biological woman. That's scientifically true. And for people to spend so much of their time to be so worried about such ridiculous things, it's just insane. And all the while this is going on, people are being imprisoned, threatened, killed, and nothing's happening. We are literally one step from that. I feel that in some places we're already at that. And so for anybody that's still like, oh, I hate the U.S., shut up, you whiny little brat. You are a whiny little brat. Look at how much these people go through in these other countries. And thank God that you live in the U.S. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to Apostate Prophet's video. And again, he's a former Muslim. I will leave a link to his channel in my pinned comments. And if you would like to help support my channel, please do, because like I said, my videos are being demonetized. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. Obviously I don't make much on here, but the fact is I don't want to lose my channel, because then I need to get to 30,000 subs, and that way I can get that join button, because supposedly that's one way we can kind of keep YouTube from just deleting our channel for not being commercially viable. But I don't know, it sucks. It's an uphill battle, but I surely don't want to quit, because there's a lot of people that want and need the truth. So let's go ahead and
You might have recently seen this on the news, and you might have completely ignored it, because it says death sentence and Pakistan and blasphemy. You might have just thought of it as something completely normal that comes out of Pakistan, out of the Islamic world. You see, blasphemy and Pakistan sounds very usual. Who really cares about Pakistan and blasphemy? Death sentence in Pakistan, death sentence for blasphemy. Many of us have probably completely ignored these news. That's why this probably never even reached you, and you have never heard of this. But imagine the following happens in the West, in the UK, in Germany, in America. Imagine someone is sentenced to death for blasphemy and is awaiting their death by the state for having opinions. Several days ago, a young man called Junaid Hafiz was sentenced to death in Pakistan for committing blasphemy, or more precisely for insulting Muhammad, a self-proclaimed prophet, a mere human, in the 7th century. He has been charged for violating Section 295C of the Pakistan Penal Code. The law reads in English, whoever by words, either spoken or written, or by visible representation, or by any imputation, innuendo, or insinuation, directly or indirectly defiles the sacred name of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, shall be punished with death, or imprisonment for life, and shall also be liable to fine. The law makes it very clear, if you disrespect Muhammad, the name of Muhammad, the holy prophet, then you are to be sentenced to death. And if that doesn't work out, then sentenced to life in prison. Imagine that happens somewhere in the West. You insult Jesus. People do it every day. And you are sentenced to death. Or maybe you can be sentenced to life in prison. Great, now you will have to rot for the rest of your life. You don't have to be killed. Junaid Hafiz is a bright mind who was born in Pakistan, who studied medicine in Pakistan, and later switched to English literature. He went to America, to Mississippi, Jackson State University, where he earned a master's degree in American literature, photography, and theater. In 2011, he returned to Pakistan, where he started teaching English literature. He was interested in making his country a better place. He wanted people to become more open-minded, to treat women better, to treat each other better, to be more liberal, more modern, to think, to be more enlightened. But Islamists at the university didn't like the fact that he was a very liberal mind, and that he influenced students and others with a liberal way of thinking, with open-mindedness, with women's rights, and all these dangerous ideas. Which is why Islamist groups wanted him removed. They wanted him punished, put away, sentenced to death, and hanged for being too liberal, for corrupting society. Eventually, they accused him of using Facebook pages to spread blasphemy against Muhammad. As far as we know, it hasn't even been proven that he actually said anything insulting against Muhammad or the Islamic religion. But in 2013, he was arrested. In his first year, he was repeatedly attacked in prison as someone accused of blasphemy charges, which is unforgivable in Pakistan and in Islamic society. He was then put into solitary confinement in 2014. He spent 5 years waiting for a sentence, and eventually, just a few days ago, he was sentenced to death. For 5 years, you are waiting for something to happen, most likely to receive a death penalty. Junaid's first lawyer received so many death threats that he eventually resigned. His second lawyer, Rashid Rahman, who cared about human rights and wanted to defend people accused of blasphemy, was repeatedly threatened. He was threatened in court, witnessed by the judge. Yet nothing happened to those who threatened him, and after a while he was shot to death in his office. Junaid Hafiz now has a third lawyer, who is brave enough to represent him, and who faces threats every day. Meanwhile, Junaid Hafiz wants to appeal the death sentence. Amnesty International condemned Pakistan and asked them to release him. The United States condemned Pakistan and asked for his release. But as it seems, nothing will really happen. Junaid Hafiz is now in prison and he's awaiting his execution. No one knows when that will happen. It is said that even if Junaid Hafiz was released from prison, he would be in danger of being lynched by a mob and killed. Previously, Asia Bibi was lynched, but she survived, and she had to be flown out of the country when she was released from prison. Mashal Khan was lynched and killed in 2017, again for allegedly blaspheming. Now, some people might say, the death sentence exists for blasphemy, but no one has actually been executed in Pakistan for blasphemy. They might think this is a good objection. We shouldn't cry, we shouldn't complain, because the law exists only to scare people into not blaspheming. But what kind of objection is that? What kind of disgusting statement is that? Do people find it funny that the state threatens people with such a law, with a death sentence, and that the state puts them away forever instead? Put yourself in Junaid Hafiz's position. How would you feel being in prison, knowing that you received a death sentence? Thinking, okay, no one has been executed so far, but what if I am the first one? What if it happens to me? What if I am the first person who is executed? We can never know. Each one of us who is sentenced to death could be the one who is actually executed. What if I am the one? What if they kill me? What if they want to make an example of me? What if I die and the Islamists of our nation watch me die and cheer? What if I am massacred by them just for wanting to make us better, just for caring about us, just for caring about humanity, just for caring about Pakistan, just for caring, for believing that we deserve a better society, a better world, for wanting to improve humanity, for wanting to help, for caring about minorities, for caring about women, for dreaming, for believing in something, just for wanting to be good, just for believing that I am doing something good. What if I die for that? What if I am killed for that in this dark place? Put yourself in his position, dear liberals in the West. You most of all. He is your ally. He's proposing to his country, to his nation, what you supposedly believe in. And he's facing a death sentence for that. Wake up. People receive life imprisonments and death sentences simply for having an opinion, simply for wanting to help women, for wanting to help minorities, for wanting to help the regular person in society, for believing in something good. Not for doing anything evil, not for wronging anybody, not for taking lives, not for robbery, not for rape. No, Islam is not just a religion like all the others. Islam is very distinct in how barbaric it has been and in how barbaric it still is. We are not all the same. We are not all equally flawed. While you are enjoying your life and complaining about petty problems, people receive death sentences for having an opinion, for believing in justice, for thinking we should be better in 2020. Wake up, humanity. Prevent what's happening in Pakistan. Prevent what's happening around the world. If we cannot come together and say no to the injustice that is happening in Pakistan, to Junaid Hafiz, and to so many people, to hundreds and thousands of people around the world, especially in Islamic countries, to minorities. If we don't want to say no to this, and if we approve of it, or if we are indifferent in the face of people being killed for their opinions, for their beliefs, for their disbeliefs, for their rejection of their beliefs and traditions, then why are we talking about anything at all? If you don't care about this, if you want to ignore this, then who are you to speak about justice? And to dream of change, to listen to a song about change and to think this is beautiful, or to watch a movie about humanity and to act like you are moved by that. This is where you need to stand up and say no to Junaid Hafiz and people like him being sentenced to death and imprisoned for life, simply for believing. For believing. That's all. Thank you, and stay away from Islam.
Alright guys, y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe, and say a prayer, write a letter to the White House. I really don't know what we can do at this point. If I'm gonna look and see if there's a petition. There used to be one, but it was Pakistan made them pull it down, I guess. And the best thing you can do is share this. All right, y'all have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.